the first Morning Pitt of 2024. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to a new year of Morning Pits. Welcome to a new year of Pitt Athletics. Welcome to a Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. On the Morning Pit, we're going to be talking about what 2024 has in store for your Pitt Panthers in a lot of areas, on a lot of levels, or at least what we think it might bring for those Pitt sports programs and Pitt Athletic Department, and also what maybe these programs and athletic department would like to get out of 2024. We'll talk about all of that and more right here on the first Morning Pit of 2024 on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Yeah, it's Tuesday. It's weird. It's going to take a little while to get used to the days. Again, it was tough last week, and I think it's tough again. I mean, yesterday being New Year's Day, sort of, I don't know, it didn't feel like it should be on a Monday. It feels like this first day back to work and back to school and back to everything should be on the Monday. But here it is. It's a Tuesday, and it's January 2nd, 2024. This is the Morning Pit on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com. His website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. The most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet: football, basketball, recruiting. You find it all at Panther-Lair.com, and message boards to talk to other Pitt fans all day, every day. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Pitt fans talking about a lot of things right now: the transfer portal, recruiting, the upcoming roster, whether yesterday's playoff results will have any impact on potential transfer additions for Pitt. That's a hot topic for sure. And of course, the basketball message boards are they're lively. Can't necessarily say they're good or they're bad, but they're lively heading into the game against North Carolina tonight. Coming after that loss at Syracuse on Saturday, a tough one in the Dome, and we did a little post-game show after that one, so we talked about that a little bit. We'll touch on it again here because some of the New Year's resolutions, so to speak, for Pitt basketball are going to include some things that we saw on Saturday, and some things that they'll have to do a little bit better here over the course of the next couple months if they want to have another good season. So we'll talk about that as well. And like I say, the fans are talking about it on the message boards right now. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Then, of course, you know what the deal is here. It's our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, where you can get all of our Pitt video content, these daily Morning Pitt videos, Monday through Friday. Our weekly live show that we do every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Me and Jim Hammett get together for some Pitt sports talk to talk about whatever's going on. Jim and I talk about it, and then Pitt fans can join in the comment section there on the right hand side of the screen. You don't see it now during the Morning Pit, but during the live stream, there's a chat. You can put your comment and your question in there, and we all have a little discussion. So we're doing that tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. We'll talk about the Pitt North Carolina game and a whole lot more right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Now you might say, oh, and also we have some post-game shows that we do, like we did after the Syracuse game, and we'll do some more on some of these weekend road games as well. And you might say, man, I'm going to miss some of this stuff. How am I always going to remember all these different things you do at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com? Well, the easiest way is to click subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way you won't miss any of our Pitt video content, any of the things that we do. Videos, live streams, press conferences, anything like that. youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video as well. We would appreciate it. And that way, that'll make us feel good about ourselves, right? And we could all use a little pick-me-up to start 2024, I think. Couldn't we? All right. I can't really call this New Year's resolutions for Pitt athletics and Pitt athletic programs. It's more just sort of like, what will 2024 bring for some of the Pitt athletics programs? What does some of the Pitt athletic programs need in 2024? And to some extent, sort of a resolution of sorts for Pitt athletics and Pitt sports programs and Pitt fans and all of that. So let's run through a few of these things here. For Pitt football, the number one thing that Pitt football needs in 2024 is good quarterback play. And I mean, you can say, well, they need wins, they need this, they need that. There's a lot of things that go into wins. Ultimately, what they need is wins, right? They need to, win as many games as they can against a not nearly as tough 2024 schedule. They should, there are going to be opportunities for wins out there. And obviously, they need to stack up as many as they can. There's a lot of ways to go about it. Pat Narduzzi needs to have gotten it right with Cade Bell with that hire. But to me, it boils down to the same thing it has boiled down to really for the last 3 seasons, is the quarterback play. The quarterback play has to improve. And they need good quarterback play. And I set this number for Phil Jurkovec as a target number. I said that if Phil Jurkovec threw 24 touchdown passes in 2023, Pitt would win 10 games. I think that's what I said. Maybe aiming the bar a little high there on the touchdown passes, but I truly think that would have been the result. And I think you could probably go back and look game by game and take away just about everything other than the Florida State and Notre Dame games. And you could say, yeah, 24 touchdown passes, pretty decent chance you win just about every other game or have a pretty good shot to do so. You might fall short maybe in the North Carolina game, but you still end up with like 9 wins. That's the number they need to hit. And so I started looking back a little bit at this 24 touchdown number, and I feel like this is going to be one of these things that I sort of think about all week. I'll probably write about it in the 3-2-1 column on Friday. I'll bring it up during the live stream tomorrow night with Jim. But looking back over Pitt history, there have been 7 times in the entire history of Pitt football that a player has thrown 24 touchdown passes or more in a season. 7. Over the course of the history of Pitt football. Now, we know a decent chunk of the early part of Pitt football history was spent, running the wing T with Marshall Goldberg and all that kind of stuff. And they never really, the first time that anybody threw more than 24 touchdown passes in a season in a Pitt uniform was Dan Marino in 1981. And so it's not exactly, it's something of a relatively recent development just over the last 42 years that all 7 of these have happened. But even if you look at over the course of 42 years, you're talking about 7 guys. Once every 6 years, Pitt has a quarterback throw 24 touchdown passes. Obviously, Kenny Pickett in 2021 had 42. Nathan Peterman in 2016 had 27. You have to go back 10 years before that to Tyler Palko in 2006. He had 25 touchdown passes. 2 years before that, when they won the Big East and went to the Fiesta Bowl, Palko had 24 touchdown passes. And then the year before that, with Rod Rutherford and Larry Fitzgerald, Rutherford threw 37 touchdown passes. Walt Harris's first year in 1997, Pete Gonzalez threw 31. And then you go all the way back to Marino in 1981 with 37 touchdown passes. So, you have a pretty big gap there. 16 years from Marino in 81 to Gonzalez in 97. 6-year gap from Gonzalez to Rutherford. 1 year to Tyler Palko. It's not a coincidence that 3 of the 7 happened under Walt Harris's watch. Shout out to Tyler Palko for finding a way to throw 25 touchdown passes in that 2006 season. I imagine a lot of them might have come against, Toledo, the Citadel, and Central Florida. But nevertheless, he still ended up with 25 that year. Nate Peterman is probably a little bit of a surprise to throw 27 in 2016. I think a lot of us think of that year as being a very run-heavy season, but Peterman did throw 27 touchdown passes. And then, of course, Kenny Pickett, you don't get to be a Heisman finalist with less than 24 touchdowns, and Pickett nearly doubled it with 42. In 2021, and he only played 13 games that season as well. Don't forget that it was a 14-game season for Pitt, but Pickett only participated in 13 of those. My point is that it's not exactly common for Pitt, quarterbacks to throw 24 touchdown passes in a season, but it's also not entirely uncommon for it to happen in college football. It's maybe a little more rare than I expected it to be, maybe a little more rare than I thought it might be. I was looking over just the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly like 9 seasons, but that includes the COVID year. So really 8 out of the last 9 seasons. Usually there was about 30 to 35 quarterbacks in FBS that threw 24 touchdown passes or more. Like there were 30 this season. And Jalen Milroe from Alabama threw 23. And so I was really counting on him throwing another touchdown pass last night so he could move the number up to 31. But last year it was 32. The year before that, 33 guys did it. 2019, 31. 2018, there were 36 quarterbacks that threw 24 touchdown passes or more. Roughly 30 to 35 do it pretty much every year over the last decade or so. And that's when I stopped looking back. Pitt needs a quarterback who can throw 24 touchdown passes in a season. Now, some of that's going to have to do with the offense and the design of the offense and how the plays are called and all of that, but they really just need a quarterback who can throw 24 touchdown passes. I don't know why I picked that as a number, maybe because it's like an average of 2 touchdown passes per game in the regular season, but I think that it's what they need. They need effective quarterback play. They need a good quarterback for the first time in a couple of years. And whether that's Nate Yarnell, whether that's Christian Bear, whether that's someone who's not even on the roster yet, they need a good quarterback. And I'm kind of setting that bar at 24 passes. And if they have a quarterback who throws 24 touchdown passes, they're going to win 8, 9, 10 games. Pretty confident about that. If you look over the 7 times it's happened in Pitt history, 2 of them were 6-6 teams. Pete Gonzalez in 97, Tyler Palco in 2006. Everybody else won at least 8 games, and then the 2 most recent 11-win seasons, 1981 and 2021, were both seasons where the quarterback threw 24 touchdown passes. So, long way around, but mostly just a way to justify the research that I did on that earlier. A long way around of saying that the New Year's resolution for Pitt football in 2024 is get some good quarterback play. And I think, and this is my final thought on this, I think the last 3 years, if anything, the last 3 years have really illustrated the significance of quarterback play. I mean, we all know it. It's the most important position in sports. It's all that, and we know you have to have a good quarterback to win, and very rarely have there been good coaches who won without good quarterbacks. It goes hand in hand. It always does. And if you don't have a good quarterback or your quarterback plays poorly, you're probably not going to have a very good season. So all of that is very basic, known cliches in football. But I think in the last 3 years, we've really seen it at Pitt. We've seen how important that is because 3 years ago, great quarterback play led Pitt to the ACC championship and 11 wins. Right? The last 2 years, issues at quarterback and issues with the larger, scope of the offense have cost the team multiple wins. At least 2 wins in 2022, and who knows how many wins, the offense and the play at quarterback cost Pitt this past year. I would say the play at quarterback cost them the Cincinnati game, the West Virginia game, the Wake Forest game, the Syracuse game. I mean, that's 4 right there that I just rattled off the top of my head that easily gets them to 7 wins. And that's not to mention Virginia Tech. That's not to mention Duke. That's not to there were a bunch of wins out there, as we've often talked about. There were a bunch of wins out there that bad offense and, more to the point, bad quarterback play cost them. So that's the New Year's resolution for Pitt football in 2024. Better quarterback play. For Pitt basketball, and this is far more immediate because with Pitt football, we're waiting until August or September to actually see this play out. Pitt basketball, as starting tonight, they need someone to emerge as the leader of this team. And I'm talking about leader, we talk about leadership. We talk about it happening in the locker room, behind closed doors, who's the leader on the bench and all that stuff. And I think some of those things are established. Some of those roles are defined. They need a guy on the court to take over. And I thought that would be Blake Hinson. And I still think it probably will be. But just given how that Syracuse game went and how the last few games have sort of gone for Hinson, I'm now at the point of saying things like, if it's not going to be him, then Bub Carrington needs to step up, or Ishmael Leggett needs to step up, or that's kind of it. It's going to have to be one of those 3 guys, I think. I mean, we had that conversation last week about the 4th scorer. Who's going to be the 4th scorer and all this stuff. Whoever ends up being the 4th scorer, if it's Guillermo Diaz-Graham, if it's Zach Austin, if it's Jalen Lowe, it doesn't matter. You need one of those 3 big guys on this team, one of the 3 prominent players on this team, to be able to step into a, I don't know, I hate calling it a clutch role, but you need somebody who can be clutch. You need somebody who can make a big shot when the team needs a shot. And I thought they had that, and I still largely think they have it with Blake Hinson, but he hasn't done it the last few games. And he very much didn't do it at Syracuse, where he didn't make a single basket in the second half. You need Hinson to be that guy. And if he's not going to be able to do it, if he's not going to pull that off, then it's got to be Bub Carrington. Bub Carrington has to continue to evolve and take over games. And if it's not going to be him, then Ishmael Leggett has to make those shots. And maybe it's a combination of those guys, but I think they're going to need somebody who can step up and do it. And last year, I think Jamarius Burton was the number 1 guy to do that. I think Nelly Cummings had his moments where he did that. I think Blake Hinson had his moments where he did that. And maybe like once or twice it was Nike Sabandi. So you'll probably have a variety of guys doing this. So maybe this New Year's resolution for Pitt basketball is more of a broad one that just you need somebody to step up in each game. Maybe it doesn't have to be Blake Hinson every night, but it's going to have to be Blake Hinson most nights. It's going to have to be Blake Hinson in most games, and certainly in games that are going the way the Syracuse game went in the second half. I mean, that was a game where Pitt played pretty well in the first half. But in the second half, they couldn't hit shots. They obviously missed their free throws, and they committed more turnovers. Although, I mean, they had more turnovers in the first half than they had in the second half, but you follow my point. Hinson's got to be able to knock down shots. And he had opportunities, and he had looks, and they weren't always great looks. They weren't always open looks, but he has shown that he can make those shots. He doesn't need an open look. He doesn't need a great look to knock down a basket. He's got to be the guy. And then other guys have to be willing to take that role when Hinson's not hitting. You know, if Bub Carrington starts to realize that Blake Hinson's not knocking down the shots, then he needs to take more of that on his shoulders. And I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm not saying he won't. And I'm not saying, he's not inclined to do it. And I'm not saying that he, isn't going to struggle when he tries to take on that role. Sometimes it's not good when you put on pressure. But this is his team almost as much as anyone else, and Bub Carrington's going to have to emerge there and step up. I think you still want Hinson to be the guy who can stop another team's run and make that shot that just kills some momentum for the opponent. But if it's not, then Carrington's got to be ready. So that's a New Year's resolution for Pitt. Get that go-to guy who could just take over a game. And not even take over a game, but just make a shot to stop the other team's run. Pulling the camera back then on Pitt athletics, I think some of the New Year's resolutions are just continued success for some of the programs that have been really carrying a banner for this athletic department over the last calendar year, namely volleyball and the two soccer programs. Volleyball right now is the most successful athletic program at Pitt. I don't think anyone would argue about that. Dan Fisher has it rolling, 3 straight Final Fours, and I think the expectation is they'll get back there again. When you look at personnel losses and additions, they should be just as good, if not better, than they were a year ago. So the New Year's resolution for Pitt volleyball is keep carrying the flag. Wave it wide and high. That's what volleyball has to do for this athletic department. That's what Pitt Athletics needs out of its volleyball program, is to continue to be a flagship program. And then the soccer programs have a real opportunity to step up and become two of the more prominent and successful athletic programs. Both had sort of, breakout years this past year, or continuations of breakouts. And I think they're both headed in, they both certainly seem to be moving in the right direction. And I think if you're looking for athletic programs that could potentially take a big step forward or continue taking steps forward and become some of the more prominent and successful programs, I have the two soccer programs circled right now. Volleyball is already there. You always need and want football and men's basketball to be there. But I think the soccer programs are really creeping up and have a chance to break through and become consistent and competitive and successful. And so that's the New Year's resolution for the two soccer programs, and sort of broadly for Pitt Athletics, is to have those programs continue to be more of the sort of, linchpins for the athletic department, the foundations of the athletic department, just like the volleyball team is right now. And then the last New Year's resolution that I have here, and I mean, there's a lot of things that you could, there's a lot of areas of the athletic department we could talk about, but the biggest one right now, the biggest resolution, hopefully you stayed till the end of the video for this one, because I think it's as important as anything else. There needs to be synergy between Pitt Athletics and the NIL world. And specifically, obviously, that's Alliance 412, the collective that's operating on Pitt's behalf. There needs to be a synergy between those two organizations, and there needs to be cooperation between those two organizations. And the rules, what can an athletic department actually do? How much can they promote? They can't actually collect money for the collective, but they can talk about how that's the Pitt Athletics preferred collective. I think they need to go steps beyond that. They need to stay within the rules, of course, and I think if you have a compliance background like Heather you're probably even more wary of things like this, but they need to take steps forward together. Alliance 412 needs the support of the University of Pittsburgh. Obviously, it needs the support of the University of Pittsburgh fans, but it can be aided in that quest by the University of Pittsburgh Athletic Department itself. And that needs to happen more than it's happening right now. And whether they want to admit it or not, the University of Pittsburgh Athletic Department needs Alliance 412 to be successful. Because Alliance 412's success, ideally, ostensibly, leads to more athletic success, which leads to athletic department success. And if there are parties within the athletic department who feel a conflict between, well, should the donor money go to the alliance or should it go to the athletic department? If there are parties in the athletic department wrestling with that, they need to understand a basic metric here. That money that goes to Alliance 412 will directly lead to the success of the athletic programs. If everything goes as planned, right? That's the way it's supposed to work. That the collectives raise the money and use it to help lead to success, right? For the programs on the field, on the court, wherever it may be. And what the athletic department needs to keep in mind is that if you get that on-field, on-court success, your donations will go up. So even if some of the money that you want right now goes to Alliance 412, if everything goes as planned, everything goes the way it's supposed to go, you'll ultimately get more than you would have in the first place, because nothing drives donations, nothing drives capital gain, capital campaigns and all those things. Nothing drives the success of those campaigns like winning games and winning championships. And if you get your football team winning, if you get your basketball team winning, it's going to drive the donations and you'll make more. The athletic department will take in more in gifts than they would have otherwise. So even if some of that money right now goes to Alliance 412, some money that could have gone to the athletic department goes to Alliance 412, if you just sit back and wait, I think you'll end up making even more in donations once Alliance 412, if its efforts are successful in procuring wins for the football program in particular. And so the New Year's resolution for Pitt Athletics needs to be, it needs to be a full embrace of this thing. It needs to be a full embrace of what the landscape of college athletics is right now, a full embrace of the world as it is. And I think there's a lot of that going on in the athletic department. There needs to be even more. That should be the New Year's resolution for Pitt Athletics. All right, that's a few that just kind of came to mind. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to have a lot on basketball to talk about in the wake of tonight's game, Pitt, Carolina at the Peterson Event Center. It's a 7 o'clock tip-off, so that's something to look forward to. We'll see how that game goes. We'll have a lot of coverage from the Peterson Event Center, of course. We'll have Jeff Capel and players post-game and all kinds of things like that. And like I said, we'll talk about it on the Morning Pitt tomorrow. But thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for starting 2024 with the Morning Pitt. I hope you had a great holiday weekend, a holiday break. We're back at it now. This is the grind. We're working through it all the way up. Who knows? What's the next break? Easter or something? I don't know. We don't take a break for that. We'll keep moving. But hopefully it was a good one for you. I hope you had a happy and safe New Year's and enjoyed it. And we appreciate you starting the week on a Tuesday right here with the Morning Pitt. So make sure you like this video and subscribe, and then head over and check out the website Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com, to never miss any of our Pitt sports coverage. All right, that's it. Have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the Morning Pitt, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.